Blueberry pancake break. Okay, yeah, no, that sounds great. Gas in the engine, we're going every position, put the key in the ignition, running out of the transmission. Do your thing, do your thing, do your thing,
Hold patient.
Wouldn't be the end of the day without some technical difficulties. Hello everyone, my name is Andrew Baisley. I'm VP of Sales for Tech in Asia Studios. We are the arm of Tech in Asia that helps connect brands with Asia's tech ecosystem. It's really great to be here. We're talking about making money with AI. Pretty meaty topic, a little bit nascent. But I think it'll be pretty interesting. So just to introduce our panelists here, on my right we have Magic. Magic 2 is the VP of Product at Appier, a technology company that provides AI platforms to help companies solve their most challenging business problems. It's a big statement, but we'll hear more about that. Before joining Appier in 2016, Magic was Director of Software Product Management at smartphone giant HTC. We've got Joe. Joe is a Regional Director, Indonesia and the Philippines at Insider, a growth management platform that helps companies bridge the communication gap across all of their marketing channels, another big mission. Previously, Joe led the Indonesia business for Adjust, which is a mobile measurement company. And Ray from Kata.ai, local homegrown startup here in Jakarta. Ray's responsible for driving growth and sales at Kata.ai. It's a leading AI-driven B2B solutions provider, previously known as Yes Boss. I like that. Yeah, that's good.
Yes.
Kata specializes in helping companies and governments achieve automation through natural language processing. Right now they're focused on Bahasa Indonesian, so we'll learn more about that as well. I think we'll just start with pretty broad questions here, and we'll just open it up to anyone that wants to chime in. But AI in general is a big thing. It's not cheap or easy. So why is it important to your companies, and how did you decide to focus so much of your business on AI? We're happy to start anywhere.
All right, so I start first. Well, there's no a legend or beautiful story. Actually, we started the AI because our founding member, they are all from this industry, and they have been spending pretty much all their life in those machine learning things. So people start with what they are good at best and what they believe in. So they start with this, then start to look at some market fit, and after found this market fit, expand this territory.
Got it.
Yeah, I think for us, definitely two words that make us decided to go with this AI route. One is the complexity, and secondly is the scalability. Complexity, data is getting more complex right now, behavior is more complex right now, and when it comes to the scalability, definitely we see AI is one of the tools to help businesses to gain their scalability when it comes to the processing all this complexity.
And Ray, I guess your product doesn't fundamentally work without AI, right?
Right. So for us, I think Andrew has mentioned that we started as Yes Boss. Yes Boss is a virtual assistant app where you can ask about anything, and we have human agent back then to reply all the inquiries, right? But back then we pivoted to Kata because we see that AI as a path of scalability, because we want to reduce more and more human workloads back then, and to automate things that is pretty much repetitive questions, and for example like FAQs. That's why we use the data from Yes Boss back then, the conversational data, to train our NLP in Bahasa Indonesia, so we can understand slangs, we can understand the casual lingos of people interacting with one another in Indonesian language. So yeah, I think that's...
Yeah. Well, Ray, you mentioned that you started with human agents, and you use that for training data.
Yeah.
Do you still do that? Do you still have humans review the data to inform your AI models?
Right. So we still have humans to train the data. Why? Because in NLP, or natural language processing, there's also a branch called NLG, natural language generation. NLG is something that the bot will train itself But then again, it could be wild because there's no human interaction there. There's no human intervention. So if the bot learns rude words, for example, then nobody there to limit that, right? But we still have humans because we provide solution for enterprises, and what customer sees is the bots of the brands. So there's a reputation of the brands inside the chatbot, right? So we still have humans to train them accordingly because we don't want to train a lot of things at once. We want to focus on more important stuff. So we don't want the bot to understand a lot of stuff if it's not really achieving the goals. For example, you can add small talks, right? You can ask the bot, do you have a boyfriend or girlfriend? But maybe it's not really relevant to customer service area. So we kind of train the bots based on what are the goals that the company is focusing.
Yeah. Hey, Joe, do you guys at Insider think about this any differently, given that obviously in your business, Ray, it's humans talking to the bots. I imagine you're dealing more with like marketing data at scale. Is it in the background? Is the AI effectively the same? Or I'm a layman, so can you help me understand like how you think about the approach to training AI models a bit differently, given your use case?
Right, it's a very good question. So I think when it comes to the marketing automations, the field where Insider is kind of focusing there, we see that artificial intelligence is playing a big role there, especially again back to the things that I said, complexity and then also scalability. Especially when you start to analyze a huge amount of data, a huge amount of behavior, user behavior, then you really need this artificial intelligence to do more targeted to more segmented communications, definitely. Then at the end of the day, human interference definitely still needed, but again, humans still have limit when it comes to crunching a huge amount of data. This is where we see artificial intelligence can really help business, especially in doing the marketing automations to get more scalable kind of activities, for sure.
Yeah, that makes sense. I guess there is like a fundamental product set difference between AI that's meant to interact with the person and make them believe that, maybe not that it's human, but that it's some intelligent thing, versus AI that is designed to crunch huge amounts of data that a human could never possibly do. Like these are like fundamentally different use cases, but still encompassed by AI. Do you guys agree?
Yeah, I think definitely, just like Ray said, at the end of the day, AI is an AI and human touch is still needed, especially when you, how can I say, when you interact with something that is AI cannot yet to understand, for example, culture. It's something that AI couldn't understand. Definitely human interference still needed there, humans interaction still needed there, but again, at the end of the day, the way we see it, AI is a tool. Definitely is a tool to help you grow the business, to help you get even further compared to what you get right now.
Makes sense. And Magic, you have a deep expertise in product management and product. What's your advice for product managers out there that might be thinking about building tooling around AI into their products?
Okay. The major challenge for any product development around AI is misuse of the AI. Most of people, when they heard of this term AI, oh, it's super cool. Let's use it. Let's try to stop this technology into your customer's mouth. This totally wrong way. The other way, we should just fundamentally think about what's their problem and look for what kind of problem is suitable to be resolved by the AI on our hand. This is a more fundamental thinking way, and a lot of product people would just dive into, let's use the AI to resolve everything. Hey, please use AI. Hey, please use AI. No, for AI, it's just a starting point for human being to use this kind of technology. There's a limitation there. So find your playground is the most important thing for us.
Define your playground.
Yeah, find the most important thing is find the right playground for your AI technology. Is the most important thing.
Got it. And do you have any like basic advice for a product manager on like frameworks to think through on defining that ROI? Defining the ROI on the expensive investment that AI requires versus the benefit that any business or a product might get out of that.
Excellent. So AI is not like you hire a bunch of programmer, then you just start to build something, and after years, then you can finish one specific application, resolve some problem. No, it's actually maybe you don't have the return. This is something we need to be aware of. Then the initial investment is high. So actually for any company want to utilize in AI, my recommendation is one, first you need to know why machine can learn and how machine can learn. Very high level concept, you need to have those in your mind. And the second is you could find some partner which they are specialized in those AI, and they can tell you more fundamental thing. They can help you analyze your fundamental business problem to see if that's proper to leverage AI. So that would be a step 2. And step 3, after that, then company need to have the commitment for initial investment for this new technology, because it's going to be high, because you're going to explore here, explore there, a lot of data. You need to see if that's useful for your business problem. Maybe after months or more, half a year, you found, okay, sorry, I don't have the data to resolve my problem. Then your initial investment might be in vain. So this is the mentality you need to build up.
Yeah, one of the things, and this session in particular is about making money with AI, monetizing AI, and one of the kind of bigger philosophical questions that's been floating around in my head is like what that actually means, and maybe we should have started there. But I'm curious what your thoughts are on is the idea of monetizing AI more about an organization improving its operations or its efficiencies and then gaining maybe margin that way or gaining a competitive edge that way? Or is it more about directly monetizing and selling AI as a thing to go out and monetize? If you get what I'm getting at.
Yeah, sort of. I will break down this problem into 2 parts. One is monetize the AI directly. The other is utilize AI. You build AI technology to improve your internal problem. You not monetize it directly. So for internal operation efficiency, a lot of things can be automated by the machine. So you can save a lot of the cost. That's more towards saving cost perspective. But when you're talking about monetization, I would say the same. Find the right playground, find the right problem first, instead of taking AI out, say use AI. No, find the problem first.
Yep. And do you think that maybe some of the businesses that are here, whether they be startups or larger growing SMEs or larger enterprises, like how do they decide just when to make that investment and the right way to do it? Is it to work with vendors that solve a specific problem that are maybe investing deeply in a particular AI technology, or should people be hiring a bunch of data scientists and AI people?
I think definitely if you want to build your own AI, is going to take a lot of investment, right? For example, if you want to automate the customer service, you have to build your own NLP. And for us to build our own NLP, it takes years to finally perfected it. And back to the previous questions, I think defining the playground is really a good start if you want to implement AI, because if you want to make money with AI, it's either you reduce your cost, you increase the sales, or you increase the conversion rate from the marketing to sales, right? The engagement, the customer engagement, you know them better, you have more insights, and you can monetize better. And for example, we work with several companies with different use cases. The first use case is basically customer service. They have like 400,000 inquiries every month, and they have like hundreds of agents, and the questions are basically repetitive. It's like an FAQ, something that we can be automated, right? And the second use cases here is more on marketing. Like we work with Unilever that they want to increase the engagement and gather more insights from their users. So it's not cutting any costs, but getting more insights, and they can monetize it through personalization. They have more insights to actually sending the better products for the customers, because the first one is more like a cutting cost. The second one is more like gathering some insights. So basically, I think those two is quite crucial.
Yeah. I love those examples. In your first example, the kind of the FAQ example, does it fundamentally matter to a client if you're using something like rules-based automation to try to like figure out some keywords that are triggered and then you pull from a database of answers. Is that enough, or does there really need to be a deeper understanding of what the person's asking for?
Right, because I think you can start with the keyword and automation, right? You can start with rule-based bots, but the customers will demand more and more complexity inside the chatbot, right? Because when we launch a chatbot, the first thing the customers do is to abuse it, right? You must have been abused a chatbot to the point where, oh, this is the limit, right? So this is how I can interact with it. So I think we also learn from that behavior and what kind of intents, what kind of features to add more in the future, for example, like months or quarters. At first, we start with the simple automations, and then there's a demand to, oh, I think we need to cover more and more complex questions. So start small, but then we build things based on the customer's behavior. So the data is actually valid, and this is what customers wants.
Yeah.
I kind of have the thought for this. Does this matter? You're just using some keyword to reply. But there's a specific to chatbot related service. People may ask, may I know? Could I know? I want to know. Give me the answer. So all different phrases but mean the same thing. So think about if you're talking to a chatbot and say, may I know? Oh, it can answer properly. I want to know. Oh, it could not give a correct answer. How sucked the experience would be. Then people would just simply leave this service. So it's very important for machine to not understand the words only, but to understand the semantics behind the words. That's what AI does. That's what natural language processing is doing.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And Joe, we're talking a lot about chatbots and natural language, and as we said before, your data set's a little bit different in the use case of marketing automation across channels. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on just how you deal with that complexity and where the line is between setting up rules-based automation in the maybe identifying people across multiple platforms and doing something simple like frequency capping, or relatively simple, in theory, or using very complex AI that is proprietary to you. Yeah.
Yeah, so basically in Insider we utilize artificial intelligence to create segments, to do more automations, to do more personalizations. So what we do here is that we utilize artificial intelligence to make predictions. So we able to create audience that will predict, will let's say make a purchase in the next 7 days, or let's say would like to uninstall in the next 7 days. So more kind of predictions. And what makes it different with rule-based is that we design our artificial intelligence or machine learning capabilities based on the modeling, right? So the good things about this modeling is that when the whole user behavior, the whole audience behavior changing, then the modeling also changing. It's a little bit different than the rule-based. For example, like Ray said, if rule-based is like A, you answer B, C, you answer D, then that's it. But modeling, they are pretty much dynamic, depends on the changes of the input. And then basis on that, they create this kind of modeling, which is again help marketers to predict the kind of audience that they want to target. And with this audience, we are able, these marketer able to start, deliver personalizations, personalized message, and even let's say target them on the creating audience that they can target on the paid channel. So basically, again, what we use as an artificial intelligence in Insider is that we create kind of like predicted audience for the marketer to be targeted.
And I think predictive modeling is a really interesting concept on its own, because it can be really powerful for marketers in particular, but really any business that wants to understand what their customers care about or where they're going to be in the future, whether that's moments from now or some further period in time. Is that, like when customers are working with Insider, is it the segmentation and the predictive modeling that's like the real differentiator?
I think what we see in the market definitely is a differentiator for sure, because we did a test. So for example, what we did is that we always comparing, let's say we do the campaign and we do two campaigns differently, one with their normal audience, one with the modeling audience or the predicted audience. What we see that the performance is also much better, because again, definitely people change, people behavior change, and the complexity of the data is also huge. So this predictive is actually help marketer to to react before things happening. Because this is something which is important what we see in the market for the marketer. Not to be reactive, but more to be preventive sometimes when it comes, especially when it comes to churn, when it's come to losing customers.
Oh, interesting. And Magic, what about you? I mean, you have a pretty broad mission of solving the most challenging problems for businesses. What are some of those challenges, and how does AI play into that?
What are those? Actually, there's some overlap playground with the Insider. So finding the best audience for our customer is, of course, definitely one challenge. And resolving this problem, actually, I can use one example. I love authentic Indonesia food. Every time I come to a new country, I love those authentic food. I have two options. One, hey, Andrew, what's the best restaurant for Indonesia food here? And he gave me some recommendation. Great, I just go there. I ask one people, get one answer. I might ask all you guys and get one good answer. So that's a difference. So you can base on the human knowledge to do some audience segmentation. Great, you might have 70-80% right because human got good intuition. But combining all people, 2,000 people here, 2,000 people's knowledge, you couldn't really summarize it, but machine could. Machine could find all the possible factors. What means a good, authentic Indonesia restaurant here? The machine give you the best recommendation out of 2,000 people's knowledge here. It just summarizes for you.
So this is, maybe this is a layman asking this, and maybe it's a dumb question, but this makes me kind of wonder how you think about the differences between like reaching consensus through aggregating a lot of data and then spitting something out the other end that's highly personalized, as opposed to being a kind of a norm across a broader population. So like how do you define those two?
That's totally awesome. Okay, for example, if you say Netflix, a $15 billion company, and Amazon, multi-billion dollar company, they do one good thing called product recommendation, personalized recommendation. Okay, so basically everyone does similar thing. Observe what the user has been viewing in the past recent days. What kind of product in what sequence. So yeah, so you say give the consensus. It's not a consensus for specific product. It's more like if people, what kind of factor out of your data is more important to predict what the user would like? For example, if it's the picture's quality, it's basically common for everyone. Is the picture's quality or product category important for what you can predict what the user might like, or the timing? So it's not like it's finding the common consensus among the key factors, but for each one you may view different product. So inject each different people's product sequence, but the machine already know, oh, it's product, that's most important. Second most important factor is timing. The third most important is the sequence of the product view. So the machine can use the key factor, give each product a way to find the next best product for everyone, because everyone will look at different product.
You're blowing my mind. Okay, so just to be practical, because I like being practical, like what are the steps that businesses here should take? We talked a little bit about evaluating ROI and how maybe a product manager would go about this, but what about a business owner or a founder of a startup? Like what's the practical steps that they can take on identifying opportunities in their business, whether it's with customers, with marketing, with re-engagement, and figuring out like what do they do? Like what should they do? Should they call you guys? You'll probably say yes, but what is, like, can someone give me like a step-by-step guide on how to make AI useful in a typical business?
I think, like Magic said, define your playground first. Define your problems. Is it a problem that has to be solved by AI or not, right? Because once you know that, then you start to have an idea, okay, then we should use AI. Now, I think the second question is like connected to what Ray said. Look inside whether you have that capabilities to build it yourself. It's a huge investment. It takes time. It takes a lot of resources. And then you ask yourself whether should I put resources there or should I put my resources more focused on the core business. If you don't have that scale, maybe you should start consider a third party for the first time, while your team or your resources focus on the more into the core business. But if you that huge, if your pocket is deep, then feel free to start building this thing.
Got it. And what KPIs are businesses looking at that work with you? Like what are they tracking to know that it's working for them?
Yeah, I think definitely to test the theory whether AI works or not, what we do is that we always comparing our artificial intelligence kind of audience which is provided by our AI compared to standard audience that they have. This is how to measure the effectiveness of artificial intelligence or not. It's very, very simple. Definitely try to compare non-AI with the AI when it comes to the performance, when it comes to, let's say, return on ad spend, or maybe, let's say, OI, you can definitely see that as well there right away from our end.
Got it. Got it. Ray, what about you? What kind of KPIs are your customers looking at?
So basically, to define a KPI and to define the ROI of the project is the first thing that we should do as a B2B artificial intelligence provider, right? So we come to the business owners and ask to them what are the KPIs that you want to achieve this year, or if they came to us, then they say that, oh, we have a problem over here, right? But seeing from the perspective of the business owner itself, usually you kind of blinded by other kind of KPIs that can be solved by the bots in our projects, right? So we also provide them like a consultation service. So basically we learn how the business works, we learn how the customer journey or maybe the internal end-to-end process, and we see that where can we optimize in what kind of sector. So for example, we want to optimize at the first stage where the customers is asked about registration. It's a very repetitive questions. It can be automated, so we can automate it here, and we can get for example like X% of agent productivity rate, if that's the KPI. But we also see that the investment worth, for example, like X, and then we will see that how many percentage that the inquiries deflected to AI, and then we can see the worth that you're paying actually for the AI, because if you're using human, the investment will be like 1 million, but if you're using AI, then it's probably like half of it.
Yeah, so you assign some value
True.
in consultation with the client, and then track the KPI against that value.
Yes.
Yeah. Magic, what about you?
Well, the problem actually already defined what the KPI is. Give you some example. Our bank customer, they look at whether or not before adopting AI, after adopting AI, what's the cost to acquire a new customer to apply their credit card? And some publisher would be also one of a customer category. They use our AI to monetize their audience. So then the KPI becomes how much more revenue I could get by leverage your AI service. And some marketer, their KPI might not that quantitative. It's more like I want to explore all kind of audience, possible audience segment. I want a tool service making me being able to segment user by their past behavior and by their future behavior. And I want to test in our physical event or our digital event. So then there's no very quantitative KPI. Just how much flexibility we could provide become the KPI or ROI they would have.
This may be another layman's question, but is there a fundamental underlying difference in the AI when you're talking to customers that have different segments and different use cases and different verticals? So for example, banking, maybe a brand marketer, maybe someone that's focused on optimizations in customer service. And then you talk to somebody on the opposite side, is it still fundamentally the same thing happening behind the scenes? Or do you have to build new AI models and new products for every vertical and use case that you serve?
Right. For us, it's like building blocks. It's like Lego, right? You have several pieces of Legos, but it will work different way in different companies. For example, with bankings or telco, for example, we have two big telco clients, right? It's Telkomsel and Indosat. And for them, it's totally a same platform that we use to build the bots, but the use cases and the knowledge base is very different. Because we also react to what kind of customers that they are serving. For example, Telkomsel is maybe more like formal thing, and Indosat's more like casual and millennials. So even though they are in the same industry, then the knowledge base and how we treat the project is entirely different, because they have also different needs. For example, in telco A, maybe the most frequently asked questions is, how do I top up my balance? But telco B, maybe it's not that. So we cannot really use some modular approach there, even though there are some modular that we have, but it's totally different treatment in every clients for us.
What about you, Joe, with your clients? I mean, you work with a pretty diverse set of clients.
Yeah, I think definitely we have kind of like Ray said, we have this brick and mortar stuff, right? But definitely when for example, let's say if we focusing on building AI to push conversion, for example, sales, you know, when you apply this, let's say we do have likelihood to purchase in the next 7 days. If we apply this for automotive business, it won't work. Why? Because nobody decided to buy a car in the next 7 days. It takes 3 weeks, a month sometimes. So definitely we create a different kind of methodology when it comes to this kind of conversion range. So to answer the question, yes, depends on the business, depends on the needs, depends on the problem that we solve. Sometimes we need to create a new one, but on top of it, if we can, let's say, build something on top of existing, we definitely prefer to build it these options that we're using the existing part.
Is this something that, and I guess the question's open for anyone, that you actively think about in your business when you're looking at new verticals, new customer sets, on how to, maybe it's a way to improve your margin on a particular set of clients by kind of recycling core technology that you've used, or is it something that just sort of happens organically? Or is that something that's like a strategy for your business?
Oh, okay. First, this highly correlated to your previous question. So fundamentally, all kinds of problem, doesn't matter you're predicting the stock price, oil price, or even what's the user going to look at for their next product. Fundamentally, the principle is similar. Basically, you got to hold the data, and you find a pattern among the data. Okay, this data is important to predict this. How important? This is a two question the model wants. It doesn't matter it's predict oil price. But, so every new problem, what we need to do is there's a tons of AI model we can use. You heard deep learning, right? Everybody heard deep learning. Have you ever heard traditional machine learning? Probably some people. That's tree-based. It's not deep learning. And how do you know deep learning is the best? No, not always the best. You need to explore. Deep learning is not always the best. So first thing is, for different application, we need to see which model is more applicable in this problem. And the second is, we need to find a useful data. Okay? When I say useful data, I mean the data is available there. This is everything there. No, you need to do something. Extract some more additional artificial human-made data out of your original data. For example, there are 1, 2, 3, 4 cup here. Then the number raw data here for us is 4. There are 4 cup here, but I can say there are 2 pairs of cup here. Then that's made by us. That's a new data extracted from the original data. That might be helpful to the problem, may not be helpful to the problem. So back to your question, we need to choose a specific vertical because that could replicate the original. You already find the best model and you already find all the data pattern out of that industry. That would be similar, and that would be, for business-wise, it's more replicable.
I love the point you brought up about deep learning is not always the best learning. For me, it would be. I don't know anything about this stuff. I would think that deep is better than basic. Right? I mean, wouldn't you? But honestly, how should, and I keep going back to this, but how should a typical business owner that's not an AI expert navigate these things? Like, what are the pitfalls that they should watch out for when thinking about how AI can help them better monetize their business?
I think you will need AI when it's time to scale. So at first, you got to do things, you got to know your stuff first before you want to automate things. Because I think using the same metaphor, maybe deep learning is not always the best, but maybe AI is not always the best answer either for your business at that time, right? So I think first is actually to do things on your own. When you think that, oh, I think we need to scale this with AI, then you start to implement that. So you have to start with the problem rather than try to solve things that doesn't exist there. I think that's my take on that.
Yeah, I think those tipping points, like when you go from kind of figuring out what your business needs to, okay, now we're ready to scale.
I see. So, for example, like your headcount grows like very, very dramatically. Then you need to automate some stuff. You cannot really hire more people, or you cannot really hire more people to analyze, for example, like a marketing data. Then you will need some automations in there.
So the advice would be that entrepreneurs and business owners should kind of keep their eyes out for these tipping points.
Yes.
I would give a truly advice for any business owner is you don't know what you don't know. So if you don't know what is AI, so you will never know what kind of problem inside your business can be resolved by AI. So I would say step 0, find someone who you can consult or just read it by yourself. Even you are CEO, even if you're CEO, read something about why AI, why machine can learn. So then you know what AI is. Then you can analyze what kind of problem potentially can be resolved by AI. Step 2, find some vendor who already specialize in this part, work with them so you can have the initial result at the shortest time.
I think this gentleman already summarized the things. I think for me, what I would like to highlight, of course, at the end of the day, it's about numbers. How much we invest in that if you invest it by yourself, and how much if you, let's say, utilize third party. Then, and then you also need to look, if I don't scale, if I don't utilize machine, how much I can jump further. If it's something that if you as a business owner think that, okay, I want to jump that high, but then I need AI, then definitely it's the time to start to utilizing the AI. But again, always try to understand what is AI. Like Magic said, what is AI? But then again, what is my problem? Does AI able to overcome this or not? Because again, sometimes people say, oh, it's AI, it's good, let's use it. But at the end of the day, maybe it's just not the right time. It's also can be a backfire as well.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I think what's becoming clear is that AI has a kind of a heavy connotation to it. It has sort of a lore around it, and there's a lot of people talking about AI in very like theoretical and lofty ways and how it's going to change the world. But it sounds like what you're saying is that AI is fundamentally a tool, and first you need to learn how to, well, if you even need this tool, and then when you need it, how it works, and how to actually use it, and then maybe over time learn how to use it even in a more efficient way. Am I thinking about that the right way, or is there like a downside in your own businesses to this like lore that AI has around it? Does it cause you problems?
I think it also depends on the market as well. So it's not really you have to review everything internally, but maybe the market is not ready for it. Maybe your market is not ready for automation yet. Maybe they need some high-touch, more human conversation, for example, in the chatbot case. So you can also see it from a different side. So we usually have some internal design thinking workshops where you play with role play as a customer, you role play as the internal team, and you can actually see from your customer's perspective, if you're the customer, would you like to be handled by an automation rather than you going, talk to a human? Because some people, they think still human is a better option for them. If they can talk to human, they use it as a first option. But corporations, they want to minimize that with automations. So that's why our technology using the NLP to actually understand the intent, understand what the customers wants, and try to give them the most relevant answer. But still, there are some people who want to talk to human to actually answer their questions. Because I think in Indonesian market, we're pretty much kind of lazy, because you can find anything in Google, right? You can find anything in the internet, or maybe through the FAQs on the website of the bank, for example, or a telco, but you don't do it because you want to be served. You want things to, it's like an instant stuff that you want things right away. So I think that's both sides is equally important. For example, you want to automate that, but you want to deliver the best customer experience as well to your customers. So keep in mind that put yourself in your customer's shoes. whether you want to be treated with the automation, or maybe there are some things that can be treated with automation, but there are some things that directly go to the human side. Okay.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, well, we're almost out of time. I wanted to ask you guys one final question. There's the Elon Musk view of AI and the Mark Zuckerberg view of AI. One is the total destruction of humanity, and the other is supplementing and growing our understanding of the world. Well, where do you guys fall? Magic, where do you fall?
Wow. Okay. I would say, based on the human evolvement over the past 4,000 years, I would say something new. Then somebody wants to stop that. Then that grows a little bit. Somebody wants to stop more. So it becomes an iterative process. It's not like going to one extreme. It's going to be, if it's proceed way too far, then people will stop it a little bit. Then it will proceed to next step. So evolving gradually, not actually going to disrupt human or make human prosperous all the way.
Got it. That makes sense. What about you, Joe?
Me, I'm a big believer that AI will be complementary instead of destroying humanity, as long as you don't give AI control of power plug. Let the power plug with human, then you're safe.
Got it.
I also believe that AI will, live side by side as a complementary tools, because whenever there's a revolution, like for example, like industrial revolution, oh, there's a car, there's no need for the horse. Now there's a factory, there's no need of a lot of human working like hard jobs, right? So there will be always two sides of people who thinks that, oh, this will destroy humanity, or this will, complement the humanity, like we can live it side by side. But I can see that maybe there's more, because we usually see things like the latest development as the last development, right? Maybe there's more than AI. Maybe there's more things that we didn't know yet, right? So I still believe that human can really push the limit boundaries out of AI. So if we now think AI as the most advanced thing out there, maybe you watch too much movies, but I still believe that we can use AI for greater good.
That's great. I feel pretty optimistic going into the future, and that's not my normal state. So thank you guys, and I hope that you continue to all make money with AI, and that everyone else here is able to do the same. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
guys.
Thank you.
Do your thing, yeah, do your thing, do your thing. Do your thing.